If you talk to the average teenager of today and you ask them what it is about
pop culture
that they like, and the first thing they'll say is the beat.
Get yourself addicted.
Welcome into the Pop Culture Piledriver. Get addicted to the content. I'm Jason Rossi. You can follow me across all social media platforms at Jason D Rossi. You can follow this little son of a gun of a show over on Twitter at Pop Culture PD. Big shout out to all those that put us over the hump at the 200 mark. I owe you so many nudie pictures. It's not even funny. But also, yeah, big shout out to you for getting us over the Change My Mind, or was it TLDR? I don't even remember what it was. But either way, beat him, smoked him. And if you continue that mission to continue to follow us, let us grow, let us into your heart, it will instantly make you more brawlier. I made up the word. With me, as always, my tag team partner in the podcast sphere. He can be followed along all social media platforms and dating websites at Billy D 2411. He is Billy D. What's going on, dude?
Hello. So TLDR didn't even get out the blocks there, and we didn't do a show last week, so that was our contribution, if you will, to the podcast sphere. We got up to 200, and they were just like, wait, we were going? So, suck it, Doc, and suck it, Fryer.
Yeah, that's your other post here with them pineapple boys, as I like to call it, but I've heard it both ways. But hey, suck it. Later, dude. Bill, people can subscribe to this wonderful podcast over on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Subscribe over on YouTube. Check out the Facebook page, Dork Shared Gooniverse. Give that a like. You get the content of all the Dork Shared Gooniverse, from the streamers to the other podcasts. Tons of content there. You can check out our merch over at tpublic.com. You can search Pop Culture Piledriver. You can check it out on our Twitter page, again, over at Pop Culture PD. In the music, brought to you by Oh Yeah, who I saw you dropping some new videos, some new heat from those boys, which was really exciting.
Yes, go right now if you're on your phone when you're listening to this later, or if you're right now watching us live, go to Spotify, type in Oh Yeah, and then type in No Release. Their new song will be a song of the summer. I'm predicting 1 million streams by August.
1 million streams.
They got to 100,000 on their last one pretty quickly, so
why not? Get after it. I like it. And you got to have high hopes.
Be on that Spotify thing. I got one of those last year. I forget which artist it was, but it was like, you listen to this song at 50,000 streams before it hit 1 million. So get on it now. Listen to it early.
Get on, yeah. Be the one that's like, dude, I remember when those guys were cool, because then when they blow up, they're not as cool anymore. But shout out to Oh Yeah, appreciate those guys, and check them out on Spotify. This podcast nonprofit partner is Frank Says Hi. You can check out franksayshi.com to see how you can get involved with giving funds to a local charity that ties into experiential events through Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. Bill, it's been a wild week. We have not teamed up for a little bit, and today we got a special little something. It is Wrestlemania week. We're doing a together in separate entities or not, trifecta of podcasts, if I could speak. So today we're going to count down the top 11, the podcasters does, if you will, of WrestleMania opening matches. It was heated debate. We put spreadsheets together. Math was so much easier this way for me. We'll talk about
do that every time. I mean, I think that's how we should do it from now on.
Shout out to Davey from the Dork Podcast, because that's how he always sends stuff to me, because I'm kind of like the math guy for like the bigger countdowns, and he always sends it that way. I plug things in. It's just so much easier visually, easier probably for you as well, instead of like trying to label numbers. Everything's there for you. So shout out to Spreadsheets, Google Sheets. We love you. If they want to sponsor the podcast, get in. Put in on your Google application, you can type in PCP for a 10% discount off of Google. But yeah, so we're going to count down that. We're going to do our favorite WrestleManias that come this week. I'll do a preview of WrestleMania 37, which is happening this week, 2 nights. All over the cock is the WWE right now as we record.
2 nights only.
Yeah, we're recording live. Yeah, this year it's 2 nights. Last year was a WrestleMania so big it can't be 1 night. Now it's like 2 nights, and they don't even go with that theme. But it will be back in front of an audience for the first time, so that should bring a little bit of a spark. But when it comes to opening matches, Bill, it really sets the tone, and we'll get to all that. But I did have a little game. I'm stealing it straight from Mac and Goo. I don't have any fancy. I could have stole their Damio That Cameo theme, but I'm not going to be a thief. But WWE banned all their contracted employers from being on Cameo. But for WrestleMania 37, Bill, they have unleashed like 25 superstars to get back on Cameo, and of course, WWE takes the cut. So I'm going to give you 5 names that you right now can purchase cameos from, and you're going to guess how much they're worth.
You're not going to do the Damio, that cameo?
It's
what?
not our game. This is just WWE Cameo. How much would you spend? That's the name of this version. All right, so first up, Shane McMahon, Bill. Shane McMahon is available for you to get a cameo. How much would you spend, and how much do you think he costs?
How much would I spend? Okay, so he's going to be sweaty while he's doing it. There's no doubt about that, because that man works up a sweat the second he walks through the door. I would probably spend on a Shane McMahon cameo, especially if he could jump through something, like 150. But since it's WWE and it's Shane McMahon, I mean, here comes the money. I'm going to say $200.
Bill, you would be spending, you need to up your money by $300. $500.
Go to hell. That's
$500 for Shane O'Mac.
$500? Wow.
Best working punches in the business, baby.
Money talks, man.
I guess that's it. By the way, Ric Flair also on Cameo for $500, not associated with this. Up next, Bill, would be your favorite, the most underrated wrestler in the history of time, Seth Rollins. How much would you spend? How much do you believe he costs?
I think you'd have to pay me to get a cameo from Seth Rollins.
That was to go to a Boston Bruins game. God damn it.
I don't know. The Monday Night Messiah. I mean, if Shane McMahon's 500, he's at least got to be like 350.
Okay. You would need to be paid, and you're saying 350. He comes in at a whopping $4 baby. $400 for.
All right, so I was close.
Rollins.
I think by Mac and Goo rules, I'm in the ballpark.
Yeah, you're good. I'm really bad at this. Raw Women's Champion, Asuka.
Oh, no one is ready for Asuka. I would pay upwards of $1 million for Asuka. I love this woman. She's one of my all-time favorites. I think she could go down as the all-time greatest woman wrestler of all time. And she famously said once, "You talk too much." So I don't think she would do a long one. So I don't think she'll charge too much. So I'm going to say about $250.
You overshot $200 for Asuka.
I might get one. Why not?
Honestly. All right, 2 more here. I'm going to go with, there's so many options, my Lord. Going for the WWE Universal Championship, now being the meme of the century, just involving him in every 2 matchups. So you're seeing him on posters versus Godzilla versus Kong versus Daniel Bryan. Batman versus Superman versus Daniel Bryan. So Daniel Bryan, Bill, how much would you spend? How much do you think he costs?
The vegan warrior here. I don't know. It's tough. I would probably throw down $100 to get you for a birthday or a Christmas or something like that, because that would probably make you change your pants. Maybe even like $250 if I could get some guys to go in with me on it. I would say if he had anything to do with it, it would probably be somewhat reasonable for a guy of his stature, like $350.
You're real close. $400 for Daniel Bryan.
All right, so I'm within $50 on these guys.
You're right there. Okay, last one. Again, WrestleMania week, you can get some cameos from WWE superstars. We will go with the Raw Tag Team Champions, the 11-time Podcasters Dozen-time Tag Team Champions, Kofi Kingston, coming in at, how much would you spend, Bill?
Of the
how much you think he costs?
New Day? For Kofi, Massachusetts' own, 2 WrestleMania goes, he had the moment of a lifetime. Was it 2?
2 WrestleManias ago, yep. WrestleMania 35 feels like it was 20 years ago.
It really does. The last one that was held in front of fans, and this is the next one held in front of fans. So, I don't know. This is tough. I feel like he can't charge too much. I'm going to go, I would pay probably this. I would pay $250 for Kofi, and I think it costs $250.
$250 on the nose. Give it up for Billy. We don't have William Hung to come on the show, but if you want hilarity and such other cameo things like this on a more regular basis, go check out the Mac and Goo program. Shout out again, since we're starting out, I was on the Dork podcast this week to
ladies.
to do a quick WrestleMania preview. Humbled and nice. It was a good time to be with the boys. No one made fun of each other. Nothing but great takes. And I called them out for not having horrible takes anymore. Not happy with them.
So I got pretty close. I got through 2 minutes of your thing. Are we going to do our other segment here coming up?
Absolutely. Well, which segment are we speaking of? There's so many segments now, Bill.
I don't think there is. There's one other one.
Is it that one? I hit the wrong button. I thought that was Bill, that was this.
Oh yeah, I'm a bit out on my mind, though.
I thought you were talking about the fans only section where they can get the Billy D bottomless stream. But again, you have to go over to OnlyFans/Billy D 2411.
I think I'm gonna start one that's called Fans Only. One, because that's how I say it a lot because I'm dyslexic, and I think that would be a big hit.
I say fans only, don't I, every time? Or do I say OnlyFans? I say fans only. It doesn't matter. Billy Bottomless feed. You can check it out. Go over there. It costs 2 cents a month. It's insane. Guys just giving the dink away. Anyways, Bill, what's going on?
Not true. There's a lot on my mind. A lot of people took umbrage, especially what's their podcast called? Change My Mind. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys.
So they were like, yeah, what happened to them? They don't do it regularly anymore. Have they been canceled? We haven't been canceled. We're still here. We're going stronger than ever. We had a little DSG kind of gathering of the Juggalos. Joe wasn't there because he's been asking to get out a lot these days, so he couldn't make poker. But once again, I took Wesley's money.
Oh, you did go. You ended up being there.
Oh, yeah, I took Wesley's money. I tried to get a date that night. Didn't happen. So my date was with those guys. Took Wes's money. I believe I took out Keith rather early. So that was nice. And also, technically I split. So we get down to the final two, and I was just like, I'm good.
Who was it?
It was me and Mac, actually. So Mac can play. Mac can play. Wes can play too. But
did he cry this time? Did he storm off?
He said, Billy's the guy who beat you with a card that's just a little bit better than yours.
I don't know what that means, but I like it.
It means I had the better hand.
Yeah, it means you lost, right?
It means he's making himself feel better for losing. But, so, I was flush with cash, and I'd already had the stimmy, so I went out, and I purchased something that was brought to my attention by Mr. Arvon D. And I submitted it to, the world's greatest game. Should I have bought this? And I was rebuffed by Davey, even though he brought this to my attention. It was $25. I am the biggest fan of Dua Lipa. I love Sugar Boo, the name. I have a player in Madden after it. Technically, it's still a valid should I have bought this if I ever land a girl and get her to wear it. But it seems kind of odd to be like, hey, you're my girlfriend. You've earned this piece of $25 jewelry. So I'm probably not going to do that.
Dude, this seems like some 7th grade minutia, and I want it to happen. I want you to bestow, like the Bachelor gives a rose, Billy gives his gold-plated, probably sterling silver underneath, cheap piece of crap like the old Razor Ramon razor thing you could buy.
That I think I have it right here. It's one of the ones that you win out of like the eggs in the old school grocery stores where they had the little.
Yes. Honestly, this thing, if visually, you can check it out on YouTube. If you're not watching, we also stream on Twitter. By the way, a lot of people reaching out to me about Twitch and the DK Sim fam, so we can do that. But there's enough places you can find us. But yeah, look at that piece of garbage. So I'm embarrassed that you bought it, but I also appreciate and respect.
It will be hanging from my window from every car that I ever own for the rest of my life. I think this is taking a place, levitating in the top 10 and probably moving into the top 5 of my favorite songs of all time because it is not worn out yet. It is not worn out. I've been playing it solid since December.
And it's great. Except, again, I said it, the baby with the second laziest rap verse in the history of music.
The more I listen, which is probably at least 3 to 4 times a day, the better that verse gets.
No, he's sleeping.
No, it's great. It's great.
He's sleeping.
Fantastic.
All right, but what else? Anything you've been watching? Anything you've been... oh, God. Anything you've been checking out? Movies, TV shows, aside from, obviously, Winter Soldier. But...
Yes. Why is the name escaping me off the top of my head? I didn't have this written down. I had something else. But it's the Amazon Prime cartoon that's everybody's talking about.
Oh, Universe something?
No. It's Invincible.
Invincible Universe.
Phenomenal. Go and watch it if you have.
Visually, it's hard to watch.
It's old school cartoons. It's like it's
kind of anime. It's like an anime.
No, it's in the ilk of like the 90s Spider-Man. I wouldn't say it's anime at all.
It feels anime-ish to me.
Did you watch any of the episodes?
I watched the beginning of the first 5 seconds. I haven't gotten into it.
So you have no reason to say it's like anime.
It is because visually, it reminded me of anime. The quick kind of movements and the mouth doesn't.
I would say it's more 90s Spider-Man and a little bit more Batman but Batman's brighter. So yeah, I'd say 90s Spider-Man and even a little bit of X-Men, but it's a fantastic story. And it takes you probably till the end of the first episode to be like, holy shit, this is a banger of a piece of television here. But I watched the first 3 and however long it takes you to watch the first 3, and I was enthralled. A lot of good voice acting, some odd choices, but you kind of get used to it once you're finishing up. I'd say in once you're finishing up episode 2, you kind of lose oh, this is this guy, and you're kind of just into the story.
I'm definitely I'm interested. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna watch it because that'd be foolish. I still haven't watched Boys, so I don't want to make any promises. But I'm intrigued. Everyone's talking about it, so I'm either gonna jump on that bandwagon or I'll watch it when nobody talks about it anymore, and I'll have no one to talk about it with. For me, Bill, I watched Kong vs. Godzilla this week. I sat down with the lowest of low expectations. I liked it. I don't know if you like it. If you're into monster movies, Kong Skull Island is a top tier for me. I think that's one of the more watchable movies. Godzilla movies stink. Since 1950s, they've all stink. The King of the Monsters, garbage. The one they made with now I wouldn't call him Breaking Bad. I can't think of anybody's name right now. Straight garbage. Barely was in the movie. All the fights were nice. This movie, fun, exciting. Wish I saw it in theaters. Not that I'm going to theaters, but that would have been fun because it would have been a cool experience. Scarfing down popcorn, having just a mess of grease all over me. Worth watching. Under 2 hours. No post-credit scene, no leading to anything else per se, but really cool. A lot of weird questions, plot holes. One little thing I just thought was funny. There's a Center Earth in this movie, Bill. I know you're big into the Center Earth. There was no reptile people, which I believe is actually in the Center Earth.
Crab people?
Nope, I think there's actual reptiles that become our presidents, but that's a story for another episode. But I was surprised that there was sunshine. There was daytime. There was an ecosystem in the middle of the earth. Who would have thought?
So, but a lot of good, what would they say? SMA, sweet monster action?
Oh, plenty. It was fun. It was a fun movie to watch. King Kong is great. There was weird. I saw I'm in and out of that chat because there's no conscious one conversation piece. It goes 1 second we're talking about Donkey Kong's dong or King Kong's dong. Next second there's a random question about something either in media or something. It's there's no, and it's usually Wes who will bring up one topic and also derail his own conversation. So I find the chat is hilarious. It's literally ADD on fleek, as the kids would say.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But you notice that, right? They'll be question, derail of the conversation. Joe will be hey, there's some Seinfeld pops. Then all of a sudden, 2 things later, somebody's asking a random ass question or goes in another direction.
It's a chat with a bunch of millennials. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right? Ain't that the truth? Yeah, millennials. Who needs them?
So what I will bring up is my guy DMX having a rough go of it right now.
Big shout out.
Not looking good, but I will just praise him. Him and Rob Zombie are the greatest live performers I have ever seen. 2 completely different performers, but the way that both of them controlled the stage, absolutely electric. I said the night that I went to see him, this guy has more hits than a blackjack table. And I think it's true. He just absolutely controls the stage, the mic. He had a lot of good beats in his time, but he had a lot of creative songs like the Damien song where he's rapping about his relationship with the devil. He can make a good party song. He can make a good club song. He can make a straight up killer rap song. Some of his lyrics and some of the things he raps about, touchy, not the greatest, but the guy knew how to do a lot with a little, because I'll see if I can post it from the PCP account tonight if I can find it. It's a rapper chart of the people who use the most words and the least words. So all the way on the right are these ridiculous people like Eminem and Wu-Tang Clan. And then the last person separated by probably 500 words is DMX. He's in a different category all to the left because he only used 900 words through all of his songs. But he just knew how to create. And that dog barking sound,
the greatest edited rapper of all time. His radio edits are better than. I don't want to hear the swears. I don't. I want to hear chains dragging, dogs barking, him doing his own. Like
whenever you're your own hype man, and we'll get to it when we talk about, I believe, the 2003 PCP jukebox. Whenever you're your own hype man, when you're in the background of your songs, being like, my favorite ever is 50 Cent. Been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp. And he just goes, I might. But like DMX backs his own vocals every time, and I love it. And he's just been, I'll post a picture too of me wearing my Rough Rider shirt as like a 12-year-old that I got from Hot Topic 25 years ago.
Who didn't ride on their bikes and get together on their bikes in 1999 and think you were the Rough Riders? And also, name me a more lit, crazy, crunk music video. There's about 10,000 people riding bikes, motorcycles, Harleys, everything. That video is insane. There's like 5 million people collaborating, singing the Rough Riders anthem. And to this day, my dogs don't stop. No. I'm telling you, this song was the anthem of a time. Any inner city kid, I don't care where you were. I don't care if you were in a palatial suite or you were living in the slums of north of Boston, like us crazy kids. White, black, don't matter your color. Everybody was a part of the Rough
When he
Riders
stopped,
anthem.
you shut him down and opened up shop.
Amazing. So big shout out to DMX. Hope you can pull through. Hope we get through this. Hope we see you on the other side and in many more memories once we can all go back to concerts. And we want your ass on stage. But to you, your family, all the fans of DMX, big shout out there. So Bill, we're here. WrestleMania week is upon us. It always brings back the jitters, whether you're the most passionate of wrestling fans like myself or become a little bit of a passive fan like yourself. Crowds will be back in WrestleMania for the first time, like we said, since February of 2020. I don't even remember the last Raw because now Peacock has a WWE Network. It's a goddamn disaster. But I don't care about the edits. I don't care about that stuff, to be honest. I just more care about just the streamlining. When you want to watch WrestleMania at 9, it's season 1, episode 9. That aggravates me.
Searchability of WWE Network, and we should
Don't
give
you dare
full
say
credit.
WWE Network. WWE Network was, you're crediting it.
Yeah, I'm crediting it. It was the first app. It was ahead of its time. It launched a bunch of programs that were great at the time. The countdowns that they did were probably the best things that they've ever done. I like them better than the documentaries, but their searchability and functionality is the way every app should have been designed afterwards. And now they've gone to a platform that has taken it back probably. When did WWE Network come out? Like 2013? It has taken it back 8 years.
Yeah.
It has taken it back 7 years. The absolute way that you have to navigate this thing is completely bass-ackwards. It's terrible.
Junk.
So,
straight junk. Not happy about it. But if you want to see any of the matches we discuss, it is on the network. But good luck finding it. WrestleMania will be live again this Saturday and Sunday if you're listening to us on the week of April 6th, 2021. So let's get into it. We're doing the top 11 opening matches. And Bill, they say if you're not, another Bully Rayism, who's become very outspoken and someone I listen to regularly, says if you're not last, you want to be first. You want to be either make the first impression or the last impression. So the opening matches become something very, very important, especially over the last 10 years compared to the first 25, 26.
It's the tone setter. It's the leadoff hitter. It is what every wrestling promoter looks to put their best wrestled match, typically, unless your main event is kind of like this year's main event that's going to be filled with good wrestlers.
Yes, I completely agree. So we'll kick this WrestleMania opening match countdown off with number 11, two of the all-time greats, and especially at a time where you probably don't recognize or remember the match. Really good match. Kicked off Seiko Field in one of the best WrestleManias. WrestleMania 19. It's Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio.
I mean, these two guys could just flat out go.
And this was a time where Matt Hardy was in that weird fringe point. Like, he's had a weird career. Before he became Broken Matt Hardy in, like, obviously more recent times, he was just kind of there for a while. But, like, if you watch some of his matches, he had Shannon Moore in his corner at this time. This is Matt version
2.
Well, it was a V1. He used to do this thing on the ropes. If you're listening, if you're watching, he was awesome. You have it going up against Rey Mysterio in front of an amazing crowd again at Seiko Field in Seattle, an amazing way, hot start to a WrestleMania that, a lot of people could consider one of the best. Great time, like right after the Attitude Era to some. I still think it fits in there by years points, but Rey Mysterio never disappoints. I've never been a huge Rey Mysterio guy, but even to this day, he can put together a great match. Recently against a Dolph Ziggler on a SmackDown, crushed it. He had a great feud where he was fighting, week in,
Andrade.
I was just going to say Andrade. Like, they are just perfect matches. He has such a style that meshes so well with anybody else athletic and that can bump.
Well, he's a chameleon and he can go with absolutely anyone. And this is, at 11, I think, once it got to about WrestleMania, let's say 9 or 10, people took WrestleMania as a thing, because before that, it's like, what the fuck is this thing? We're calling it the granddaddy of them all, but what really is it had to be established as the thing. And once you got to a certain point, it was like, okay, this is literally the showcase of the Immortals. This is where we come to do our thing. And this is before like every opening match just tried to jam as many people as possible into it. So these guys went out, they have like 9-10 minutes?
No, here's the funny part, Bill. I watched it again. 7 minutes, including entrances.
7 minutes. Okay. So I knew it was short. Yeah. So I knew it was short, but both of these guys can go. And Matt Hardy, until recently, probably the last 5 years, didn't get the credit he deserved as an in-ring talent. And you can see it in this match. And Rey Mysterio, I hated him for a long time, but that feud with Andrade, probably 3 years ago now, was one of the better told in-ring stories in a long time, because those guys just, it seemed like they set out to have an Eddie Ray match every time they went out. And this is a little bit of that pacing that, just the, Rey Mysterio can bring to any match.
Yeah, I thought he did everything he could to make this match great. Again, short, maybe there were some injuries, would have liked to see them maybe go 10 minutes, but I just thought, especially to kick off the countdown, it's a great start there. And it's the most digestible match. Very quick. You get in, you get out, nobody gets hurt. Matt Hardy defeated Rey Mysterio, by the way, in this match. All right, number 10 coming in, Bill, is from WrestleMania 32, the very first WrestleMania non-pre-show match I saw live in Dallas. It was a 7-man intercontinental title match from WrestleMania 32. Now, I know you have the names. I know we did this right before the show, but let me see if I can remember. I know Zack Ryder won this match, which was a huge pop. Crowd went wild. Dolph Ziggler, Stardust, Sin Cara, did I say Star? Yeah, I did. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, who was the champion going in, Dolph Ziggler.
Got them all. That's impressive, my sir. And yes, Kevin Owens was the defending champ going in. Zack Ryder, of course, in that great moment. It didn't last long. But the match did. They gave him 15 minutes. And this is when we had all that pre-show minutia. So this was actually technically the fourth match, but this was the kickoff of the official card. And I believe this was the first one I had watched without you in a while.
Yeah, because obviously being there in Dallas for the first time, really hot match. If you go back another, if you're we can suggest all these matches, especially these ladder matches, which is spoiler, more to come. But this match does such a good job of just putting guys out there that if you're a wrestling fan of 20, at the time would that have been 2016, 2015, whatever, you would have 2016. You would have
guys who can just flat out go.
Yeah, and it's also guys that weren't scared to take the chances. Now, Zack Ryder has a real up and down career. This match might be his best match. He does a crazy elbow drop from the top of the ladder, which is stupid. I'm sorry. It's a dumb move, but he looks awesome. A star was born in this night with him again. I know he's had his moments, but they ripped it away. They didn't believe. There's a lot of stories that who got hurt from this? Either Bad News Barrett or somebody.
I think it was Bad News Barrett. And
the story is that whoever was hurt was going to win. I don't know. I think it might have been him, or it was either him or Ray or somebody. I don't know if Ray was even with the company, but somebody got hurt. They were the one who was supposed to win. Then there was the day of, Zack Ryder tells the story, that it was going to be The Miz. And then there was a quick chance that they were going to give Sami Zayn, because he was kind of the up-and-coming guy who just come back from an injury. And then Zack Ryder was told hours before, you're going to win. And then he asked, can I have my dad come in the ring? That's why you get that awesome moment, which is so heartfelt, so real, so much emotion in this match. Being in the audience, the crowd, this is years after the We Want Riders. 3 years have passed. And everybody popped for him because people know the story. They love the longevity. And 24 hours later, it was taken away. But it still it should have been a great long feud between him and Miz. Maurice getting involved back the next night. Zack Ryder's dad. It could have been a cool. Didn't go that route. But the match, Stardust, there was a lot of rumors about him potentially, stripping off the Stardust character, but he brings out the Dusty Rhodes polka dotted ladder. Sin Cara, oddly involved in this match, but also had a couple of great.
Yeah, he's a spot guy. He's an absolute spot guy. I mean, we saw him risk life and limb at was it a Money in the Bank or was it a TLC?
It was the Money in the Bank. Oh no, TLC with the tag match with him and Kalisto.
Good Lord, yeah.
I mean, he's a maniac.
They go wild when they get the chance, so it was really nice. But as you said, you really get wrapped up in the emotion, especially if you knew Zack Ryder. But even if you don't, to see him with his dad in the ring at the end is something special. But again, you're talking about a lot of guys in their absolute physical prime. Zack Ryder probably in his physical prime. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, doing their thing, coming out of NXT somewhat, recently. Yeah. And Stardust, as much as the character stunk, he tried to deliver, and he always did in the ring. I think Cody is one of those just under one of the greatest wrestlers, he's just a tick under the next level wrestler.
Agreed, and he's putting in hell work over at AEW. Coming in number 9, another schmozzy ladder match, Bill. This time it was for the Money in the Bank. WrestleMania 23. Hot start to this one. 25 minutes of action. CM Punk, Edge, Finley, Jeff Hardy, King Booker with Queen Sharmell, Matt Hardy, Randy Orton, and the eventual winner, Mr. Kennedy. What a stud this guy was.
He sucked.
First of all, let me
he
just
really
say
did, though.
No, he did. The match, well, in my opinion, let me just go through the talent in this match one more time. Mr. Kennedy, think of him what you will. So I'll
good character, bad.
Absolutely. Mr. Kennedy, CM Punk, Edge. By the way, Edge's first loss at WrestleMania, which was so dumb because then the next year he faced The Undertaker. Could have been Streak versus Streak. But anyways, Edge, CM Punk, Mr. Kennedy, Finley, Jeff Hardy, Booker T as King Booker, Matt Hardy.
The most underrated wrestler, I think, of the last 25 years.
Booker T?
Yeah.
Matt Hardy, Randy Orton. We have legit maybe the greatest collaboration of talent in different varieties you've ever seen in a ladder match. I know there's been some with Kane.
I don't know. I think there's one that's the one before this was pretty good, and I think there's one or two after this are also pretty good.
We still have another one to come on the list. Spoilers. But yeah, Mr. Kennedy ends up winning this. The story goes, he was told he was going to win it. He was going to become the champion. And there's the famous, people thought there was a lot of issues with him. He actually got hurt. They needed to take the belt off The Undertaker. He had to go get a second opinion. The second opinion didn't come back yet. They took the Money in the Bank off of him, gave it to Edge. Edge beats The Undertaker a few months after this. Find out Kennedy wasn't hurt. Could have been the champion. Could have followed through with it. Ends up, having some weird fallout with Randy Orton. Gets canned and went to TNA for quite a while and don't really know what he's doing today. But amazing match. Go through this one. Finley, who you don't think of in these ladder matches, just wailing on people. Jeff Hardy doing crazy things also in there again with Matt. Not as a team, not as just the brother,
those two in any ladder match, especially Jeff, wait for him to risk life and limb on a wooden ladder.
And then Edge is involved too, to go with what you just said. He gets hurt during this match. They throw up the X, by the way. Don't think it was real. CM Punk.
Yeah, half the time I would say 90% of the time it's not real anymore.
CM Punk, right before he went on his little Money in the Bank winning streaks. Again, King Booker, not really known for this style of match, but just the talent. And then Randy freaking Orton. Randy Orton, this guy's one of the greatest of all time.
Have we done a career breakdown of him yet? Because he's probably...
feuds, but yeah. we could go more in depth. Just incredible match. So number 9, Money in the Bank, WrestleMania 20. Oh, I messed up, Bill. That was 23.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what I do, boys. Welcome to my crew. That was a big boner on my part, even though
it is mostly an audio medium and no one's currently watching.
No, that's just not on one platform. Anyways, well, I will also segue this over. This is the classic Rossi boner of the day. Number 9 is from WrestleMania 25, as I was trying to say 23. CM Punk, Christian, Finley, still same names, Kane, Kofi, Mark Henry, MVP, Shelton Benjamin. Again, wooden array, 15 minutes, not as long as one later in the countdown that you may have just been the breakdown, so we'll fly through that later. But again, what an array of talent. This is CM Punk winning, I believe, for the second. I'm sorry, this was his first win at WrestleMania 25. No, second consecutive year. So
yeah,
CM Punk,
mean, this to me, CM Punk, Christian, Finley, Kane,
MVP,
Kofi,
Shelton, one of your guys.
Shelton Benjamin, mwah, and I've been on Shelton Benjamin since day one.
Yep.
With JC, he is, especially in these ladder matches, a showstopper, a show stealer. He knows how to work with the ladder. He knows how to do all that stuff. Kofi Kingston, when he gets in one of these, even Kane in these brings it. Mark Henry's a little bit of fish out of water in this match, but Finley, I think, does he? I don't know. He might make honorable mentions, but Finley, what a wrestler. What an absolute stud this guy is.
He was like a JBL style, which will segue to number 8, JBL versus Finley at WrestleMania 24. What an opener. Just hard-hitting guys that didn't give a crap. These are the guys, the strong style that you hear from Japan. And this match was, I believe, like a hardcore rules. They just beat the bag out of each other. This match is awesome. It literally gets no love when it comes to WrestleMania.
It's a lot of fun.
It is. There's hornswoggles involved. There's trash can lids. It's a pretty stacked WrestleMania in general. This match goes under 9 minutes, and it's a Belfast brawl match. And they just beat the ever-living crap out of each other for 9 minutes for your pleasure, for your entertainment.
And they're two older dudes, two bigger dudes, but they put on a show, and JBL said it a few times, call the cops because those boys just stole the show. I don't think they stole the show, but they sure as hell set the tone. Yeah. And we were doing a comparison in our Madden League the other day of which wrestlers match up with which people. And I said Mac from Mac and Goo kind of reminds me of JBL. It also kind of reminds me a little bit of Finley.
Put it together, you get Mac, a little bit of a dink, a little bit of just a stout, tough guy.
But not afraid to just, throw some punches and, really be a crowd pleaser.
I like it. Yeah, but JBL, Finley coming in at number 8, WrestleMania 24. Moving on to number 7, the kickoff of what is now known as maybe the C Nation, which is one of the dumbest names of a fandom. But what a match this was. More for the moment, more for what people loved about it. John Cena, Big Show, WrestleMania 20.
So I watched this one today, and after watching it, I should have moved it higher up on my list. So this should probably be a little bit higher. But this was, and we had JBL on the mic. My God. He was saying he did a pretty good job of telling the story about how Cena was going to be overmatched in this. But, it's big match John, and he rose to the occasion. He, little chicanery at the end because he's the doctor of thugonomics, hit him with the 3 sets of brass knuckles that he came to the ring with, I guess.
Yeah.
He had like a chain, 2 brass knuckles because he wore them on each hands, I think. But he hits the first FU on him, which is a spectacle in itself. And then he hits the second one on him and wins it because he knocked him with the knucks. But you could just tell from then he had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. Whether they like him or they don't like him, he makes you do what he's intending.
That match, though, go back, the crowd reaction, they were into him. The New York crowd, WrestleMania 20 years in the making. It comes right after you saw Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon, Shane's son, the first grandson in the McMahon family. It's just very emotional. Boom, what music you hear? John Cena. Thugonomics, raps, awesome entrance. The match was above average. Big Show did everything he could. It's just weird to watch Big Show with that weird. You always make fun of the hair. Just bad looking. Just looks so old. Looks so much younger now. Not just because he's lost more weight, but just look like disheveled. Look just gross. But
it was weird looking. There was a famous sign. I think it was what is it? Big Show fears legs days. Because I think it's just like it's tough to make your legs that big when you're that big in general. And if you're a little bit heavy, it's going to show. But the Big Show did a hell of a job. And 10 years later, in like a Roman Reigns match, he's still doing hell of work. So I really, really enjoyed this match. And it's not a lot of the, as Nestle from the Jobber Knocker Take a Drink would say, a lot of the gaga that you see in typical opening matches these days. It was just a straight up 1v1, and they knocked it out the park.
And it's for the U.S. title, which never really has been a title that is like overly desirable. That you
only twice
has been changed hands at WrestleMania.
No, only twice it has been desirable. Both times been worn by John Cena.
Great point. But like this was just such an interesting peak for that title in the early stage. Obviously, 11 years later with Cena versus Rusev, we got the kind of tail, and then Cena became the man again. But this, like, if you watch, first of all, the way John Cena is fluid, like people want to talk about like his moves.
You can't wrestle.
Yeah, you watch him in this match, the man moves like lightning speed, so young, so agile.
He's never been a bad wrestler. He was a little bit clunky in his movements at this portion of his career. But by like 5 years later, I would put him pound for pound as you're going to see the best match on the card if John Cena's in it.
Yeah, it was just like I think trying a little bit harder than necessarily, especially against a Big Show, where his athletic style with strength didn't maybe match up as much against a big just mover. But
and his Disney-like hero punches where he just winds all the way back. Like that's the only way I can describe it. Is it
video game.
Like it, yeah, it's amazing.
That is the Disney punches. Bow! Good match. Awesome crowd reaction at the end, jumping into the crowd. I don't want to say the last time because I know they did something in Chicago a few years later.
A smaller-ish arena.
It's one of the last ones that wasn't in a big arena because
it had a small feel to it. Even I think the Chicago one, it was a little bit more of the.
No, it wasn't Chicago. Maybe it was. Yeah, you're right. I think they did the one in Chicago that was still like a basketball arena.
It didn't have like that garden feel. Like that had the garden feel where like everything was right on top of you, where you could see fans. All like it wasn't like a deep scape, it was just like a flat
straight. Yeah, it's almost like a wall. Yeah. And I will also give credit. I love when they do the Madison Square Garden special events because like they have to block. Either you do the entrance where they come straight down like the Royal Rumble 2000, or you get this one where they created a stage, but then you have the screen right there because there's a huge gap opening. So really cool visual. Great way to start WrestleMania 20. Also one of the better known WrestleManias. Coming in now at number 6, WrestleMania 21, 1 year later when WrestleMania went Hollywood. Best promos heading to a WrestleMania.
Is this the big time?
This is big time, Bill. This was Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero. When you hear those two names, what event stands out?
It is the Halloween Havoc. I believe it's 1998, which is my 1997. Okay, so that's my favorite wrestled match of all time. My favorite match to show people is the Mike Awesome Masahiro Tanaka match. But
One Night Stand.
Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, like if I was to show like Wes, not like because Wes I think watched wrestling growing up.
Everyone did, Bill. Everyone did.
Well, if there's a few people in my old work who would be like, "Oh, you watched wrestling as a kid? Did your dad like drink and beat your mom?"
Oh,
like just kind of like a dick vibe towards wrestling.
Yeah.
I would show them the Halloween Havoc match because I think that is the most fun, quick wrestled, but still gives you the essence of what wrestling is. This is a little bit less, obviously, because it's a few years later, and I don't think it's as crisp, but it's still two of the greatest technical performers of all time ever. Top guys.
It's about 15 minutes with entrances, which I love. I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of I love New Japan, but they give all those guys those 30-minute matches all the time, which is really cool. But I think if you just bang out a solid 15-minute match, 12, 13 minutes, and you really give it your all, it's on a clunker, like these two put on, this easily could have went much higher up the ranks, could also be dropped, depending on what you think of it. But Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, putting on a show, again, kicking off WrestleMania 21. And again, it was right around, like I said, I think total bell time was about 13 minutes. Rey Mysterio picking up the victory. They were tag team champions, I also believe, at the time, which WWE always somehow falls into these categories where they put their tag belts on guys and don't even defend them. But really hell of a match. WrestleMania 21. Weird kind of event. This was the crowning of John Cena, Batista. You also had a weird match. Aki Bono versus Big Show. You had an excellent Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels match. Maybe one of the best WrestleMania matches no one talks about. Undertaker Orton. You had a Money in the Bank. You had Christy Hemme. Weird card. A lot of moving parts, but this was such a great tone setter again in LA. Oh, this was also inside, not a bigger arena. This was in I think in the Staples Center or whatever it was called at the time.
But that feels much bigger than the other one. Like that has a bigger feel. The crowd set back a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, just two all-timers going at a fast pace. To me, it wasn't. I had it a little bit lower on my list because it didn't hit me the way the other ones did. Like Eddie put on a lot of bulk at this point in his career and wasn't as smooth as he once was. Still great, still
Final
one of the top
WrestleMania.
guys. But yeah, and final WrestleMania, but he was a step behind his pace in obviously 1997.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. All right, so coming in at number 5, again, another 7-way. This one for the Intercontinental title. They did this 2 years in a row. This one's from WrestleMania 31, in my estimation, the last great WrestleMania. This one, I know we did this again. I believe the 7 participants were Bad News Barrett, I believe, was the champion heading in. The Miz. No, the Miz was not in it. Okay, hold on. Bad News Barrett, R-Truth, Dean Ambrose, Cody Rhodes. Was he Stardust?
He was Stardust.
Okay, Stardust. Dolph Ziggler, Daniel Bryan, and I forgot R.I.P. Big ups to Brody. That'd be Luke Harper.
Did you also say R-Truth?
I did. He was my second one.
Okay, sorry. So you got them all. And this, I think, was the last WrestleMania that I watched with you.
Yes, this was the last one because I've been to last year we were together.
And what did you just say? This is the last great WrestleMania?
I believe, yes.
And so all of the ones you've been to since, not as
great.
It's
there's some good ones, but they're too long.
Yeah.
They're just too long. WrestleMania 34, like after leaving that stadium, I was like, I think the last match was absolutely one of the worst main events ever. Lesnar, Reigns, literally people leaving, like no joke. But like that event as it was going on, you're like, ooh, there's some really good stuff in there. If you cut like 6 matches out of that event, it would be an all-timer. It's just that's what's happened.
After that, 35 with Kofi and then with Becky, I think is
cut out some of the fat though. Get rid of like 8 matches. There's 17 matches on the card. Bill, 17 wrestling matches. What are we doing? Enough.
I think at this point we have to point out and give praise to your wife as one of the greatest women who's ever lived, because she would take, is it 5 straight years or 4 straight years, WrestleMania as like 4. The big ticket vacation for the family.
Yep, that was it, baby. We would go. She buys in. She loves vacation. So my wife loves to travel. So anything we could do, but like she does buy in. But I will say, like, when our first one was WrestleMania 32, which we had that ladder match earlier on the countdown. Real hot start. Things are going great. And I'll never forget, it was 2 hours in. And it was Ambrose versus Lesnar. We're like counting the matches left. We're like Undertaker, Shane, Roman Reigns versus Triple H. You get this. And you're like, that's going to be 25, 30 minutes. That's going to be this. Oh, we haven't even seen the New Day yet. You're like, holy crap. This event's already been 2 hours and we have like 8 other matches. And that's a really bad feeling. Next year in Orlando, same thing. You're like at one point, like, wow, here we go. Like 2 hours into a wrestling card, you have to be like, let's gear up for like the final act. Maybe it's 2-3 matches, but like the big ones, or like you're 7 hours into it being at an arena and you're like, there's still 3 matches and I don't even care about it. Like when the Undertaker, once you knew it was Undertaker versus Reigns at WrestleMania 33, the crowd just started being like, this is not good. It's clearly Undertaker's last match. Nobody likes Roman Reigns. What are we doing?
The only thing I could possibly equate it to is when my 2 nieces and my nephew danced. So I would go to one of those dance recitals,
right?
And they're of varying ages. So my niece was like 5, 4, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then older kids, 17, working backwards to like 12. So I would be there for like 5 hours, and I would be like, all right, I got like 3 hours before the other kid goes on. And I'd just be like, my God.
At one point, you're just like, I can't do it. But going back to this one, WrestleMania 31, the last great WrestleMania. Watch that card through and through. Really, aside from AJ Lee and Paige versus the Bellas, it's an awesome card. No disrespect to the women. But this match sets such an awesome tone. Daniel Bryan captures the IC title at the end with the headbutt monsoon between him and Dolph Ziggler. Really weird when you think he had to like retire after this, which is a really messed up ending. But
this
put
is
it on
what
the
I
line.
stressed. Why do the headbutt as your finisher? It's so ridiculous to do a diving headbutt off the top rope. That is concussion. Yeah. Like that's what was Chris Benoit's one of his finishers.
Diving headbutt.
It's an insane. Like there's no like you're diving from how many feet?
Honestly, I think it's 5 feet up. You're jumping. Your head's already another 5 feet in the air, so it's maybe 12 feet of I'm not a science guy here, but you're about 12 feet, basically just jamming your head potentially onto a mat.
Or another person's shoulder if you do it correctly. Like that is just insanity.
Scary. But yeah, so this match was great. You had R-Truth, who was hilarious, who was scared of heights, so he had a couple of moments. That didn't play out the whole time, but it started off really well. Luke Harper with the crazy dive. Dean Ambrose does an elbow through a table on Luke Harper. The two of them basically get knocked out of the match from there, and Dean has talked about he really hurt himself on that move, just body aches and pain. Same thing with Luke Harper. Stardust, no real standout moments in this match, but I think he does like a crossroads from he does like a swing on Barry News Barrett off. These guys, again, it's almost ridiculous how dangerous these moves are, and they just do it on a whim.
So we had a baseball draft, I believe, that day in your apartment.
We did.
And a lot of the guys hung around for most of WrestleMania, and I think this match did exactly what it was supposed to do. People were like, I'm going to leave, but then Jimmy Holland was like, let's put some money on how many times, like I said, let's put some money on how many times they're going to touch the belt. And Jimmy was like 4. And I was like, you've clearly never seen one of these before. It got up to like 32 or something like that. But the great thing about this was it did what the promoter was trying to do, what the booker was trying to do. It hooked you because there were so many good moments in this match.
Absolutely. So then moving into number 4, hitting the Mount Rushmore of WrestleMania opening matches. Didn't believe either one of us would have this as high as we did, but I went back again. I was there in person. It should have never had no business being the opening match, in my opinion. But
it's AJ Styles' second best match or third best match in the company.
That's not true. But your opinion, AJ Styles, Shane McMahon, WrestleMania 33. Here's the funny part. AJ gets the win. This feud almost made no sense, but ended up. And then they did that weird thing with the car and and Shane breaks his elbow. Weird. But this match, Shane pulls off one of the most impressive, almost looks like so nonchalant, so lack of effort, shooting star press. Misses, which I still think, I wonder if it's worse to miss because you're just hoping your body lands in a position where you're not going to hurt your elbows, arms, legs, anything. He just does a nice little flip over, and it is very impressive. But AJ Styles carries Shane McMahon to an excellent match. The two of them shouldn't have made sense, but it did. And it was really good. A really fun match.
This match was magic, though. It really was. It was stupid, but Shane McMahon brought out all the tools. I'll never forget him. I think it was against Test. The first time I was like, this guy's nuts, doing the elbow drop. And, he brought out the elbow drop. He brought out the friggin'. Yeah, I love his elbow drop, too, because it's not even an elbow drop. He kind of lets the arm go limp. And kind of just, it's like a
forearm drop.
It's like an L if you wrote an uppercase L and then pushed it over. Like it's not like a real elbow. And then he did the coast to coast, which, as you say, also kind of looks nonchalant, but somehow he makes it. Yep. AJ Styles probably still top 3 performers right now, and right then he was the number 1 in the world. So it was just flat out go time. Was this AJ Styles' second WrestleMania match?
Second WrestleMania match.
So it was his first good one because Jericho sandbagged him like a son of a bitch. So I absolutely loved this match. I probably should even have it higher.
I don't know. I thought it was higher than I was expecting. We both had it right in that middle point, so get it here to number 4.
But it's the gaga. It's just
a lot of gaga. Number 3, we already covered this one. WrestleMania 23, Money in the Bank. So now we can get to some honorable mentions. I'll throw some that you had on here as well as me. That did not make it. I just missing out on making the top 11. Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, WrestleMania 28. Not necessarily this match was great, but it was a spectacle and got the crowd.
Remember it.
Yes.
You will remember this match forever, and I think it makes the Daniel Bryan story, which is still going surprisingly, incredibly strong to this day, even better.
Yep. Another one you had on your list, The Shield versus Randy Orton, Sheamus, Big Show, WrestleMania 29, also in New York outdoors. Great hot start. The Shield at their peak, 1 year away from their breakup. Famous right before the next night when Randy Orton had asked Sheamus what his line was. What a weird career that guy's had, but a good, fun, kind of hot match. Another one, Chris Jericho versus William Regal for the IC title, WrestleMania 17.
Another guy I compared in a Madden league, I said to this kid, you're a young William Regal. Would you take that as a compliment? Because I would.
Personally, no. I would say that means I'm like a stiff.
Oh, I love William Regal.
I don't dislike him. It is not do, but I just feel like he comes across as like a stiff. And his penis is much on the WWE network. There's a weird edit on a towel reveal. But another match here, Tito Santana versus the Executioner, WrestleMania 1. I had it on there just because it was WrestleMania 1. Very first match. Nothing like Tito Santana facing a masked man who didn't know who it was. Another one you had on here from WrestleMania 9, Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka for the IC title.
That's a good one. And I don't know if you'll mention this as well, but Shawn Michaels versus Tito Santana in WrestleMania 8. That's just on there because Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon opened up that WrestleMania like no two commentators ever have opened up any show ever.
Yeah, the last time the two were together for a WrestleMania. So those will be our honorable mentions. Let's jump into the big two, the final two. I think there's no debate that these are the two best WrestleMania openers. It's
what you want one and what you want two.
Yeah, so we both actually, this tied for points on both of our rankings. I had 1 as 1, you had 1 as 1, I had 1 as 2, you had the opposite as 1. Like, so these were our top 2. So we talked about it before and came to the conclusion at number 2, Triple H versus Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 30. One of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. This is an incredible match. The stakes are there. Winner goes on to the main event to be in a triple threat against Batista, Randy Orton. We know Daniel Bryan wins the title, the Miracle on Bourbon Street, WrestleMania, all that. But Triple H is a great final boss this entire run, and these two put on an excellent
Stephanie
match.
plays a pretty good role, and I'll tell you what, the reason why I think I flip-flopped Classic Billy right at the end here is because I thought I remembered the Bret Hart match well enough, and we'll get to it. I watched this match a little bit long. Not that it was bad at any point during it, but it was long. It's a Triple H match. It's going to be long.
They're always the longest match on the card. It's a weird thing.
It's not a weird thing. It's because it's Triple H and he demands the screen time. And I think that's just a given at this point.
26 minutes, just so people know.
I mean, that is a long match to have as an opener. That's incredibly long, but not boring for a second. And you just said about the New Japan thing. Like sometimes it's a little bit much. And obviously these guys earned every second of it. Stephanie played the great foil throughout as well. Daniel Bryan just knows how to work a crowd. And I don't think when Triple H is trying to put somebody over, I don't know if there's anybody better than Triple H at doing that exact thing. If he wants to put you over, he will put you fucking over.
And if he doesn't want to put you over, he won't. And I completely agree with that statement. Realistically, Triple H gets a lot of crap. NXT saves kind of his wrestling aura, but WrestleMania 30 puts over Daniel Bryan. WrestleMania 31, we'll save that one for another time.
WrestleMania 19 is the one that sticks out in my head, and we'll get it.
31 and 19, and this could be a whole nother thing we could save. But WrestleMania 32, as much as it was a horrible match, he put on a show to put over Roman Reigns. He wanted people to want Roman Reigns to win. WrestleMania 33, the very next year, Seth Rollins. He puts over Seth Rollins.
He knows how to sell, baby. He does.
WrestleMania 34, Ronda freaking Rousey. So
he's only 34. That's crazy.
It sure is. So yeah, number 2, this match, honestly, I know what you're saying about the length, but I think it works because that's when you're in the ring with someone like Daniel Bryan, who should be in 20-minute matches. Like, this probably wouldn't have had the same feel at 15, 13 minutes.
It doesn't feel 26 either, which is a shining example of any piece of content that it's good, but it's still it's a little long for my taste.
I can understand that. So Triple H, Daniel Bryan, and then the post-match where he attacks Bryan's shoulder. It's just an excellent start to one of the best WrestleManias. It comes off of the intro with Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. All the memories. 30 years. Triple H, epic entrance with Charlotte, Sasha, and Alexa, which we didn't know at the time. Then Daniel Bryan with just the entire audience waiting for this moment, waiting for him to get there, and actually making you question, which I think makes this match a little more dramatic than any other on this list. Is Triple H just going to put himself over? Dude, does he want the All Evolution main event? Because nobody thought Bryan was going to be here.
And yeah, well, this was famously the Royal Rumble, correct? Where Daniel Bryan was not in it, where everybody lost their shit. Yeah,
poor Rey Mysterio got absolutely burnt to the ground on his entrance. And then that's where all the, the beginning of the hate for, Batista, who was supposed to come back as his hero, not happening. And very weird. 7 years later, dude, 7 years later, Edge wins the Rumble. People are behind Edge, feeling good about Edge. They put Daniel Bryan against Roman Reigns for 2 straight pay-per-views. And now the crowd is like, oh, crap, Daniel Bryan. Yeah. We love this guy. Yeah, give me him. and he's back in the same position. And they put Batista came back as a face. Nobody wanted him as a face. Became a heel because of Daniel Bryan. Edge comes back as a face. What a story! 10 years after retirement, has now been placed as a heel. It is history repeating itself. And Roman Reigns, playing a great foil is.
It's badass. Daniel Bryan being the guy next door, and this is why I always get on Michael Hayes. And anytime anybody says anything good about Michael Hayes, he is still beating the drum of you don't want to go see your next door neighbor wrestler. And he's been beating it for years when that's all people want to see now. Because Daniel Bryan, obviously bulkier than your next door neighbor, but he is the guy next door. He is the underdog story, and that is why he's made this list a few times in the multi matches, but he knows how to draw in a crowd, and he's just got that. It's an indescribable charisma.
Yeah, it really is. He makes you believe. I'm a huge Daniel Bryan guy. You mentioned it earlier. Even I was like, okay, I wanted him to face Seth Rollins at this upcoming WrestleMania. So that'd be a cool spectacle match, a match I've wanted to see for years. Give it a little bit, not even big stakes, just little feud. What they're basically putting, it's going to be Seth Rollins Cesaro, which will be good. But I thought Daniel Bryan Seth Rollins feels like a WrestleMania match. Feels like that right middle of the card match. Or one of the night's main event even. But
they do the classic Shemazi Smosh and throw 3 people in there for no reason. But I'm sure it'll be great.
But the thing is, Daniel Bryan, you just put him in the title picture, and you instantly makes you believe. Instantly makes you think, wow, Roman Reigns on this trajectory where he's not going to lose for 2 years. He's going to face The Rock. He's going to do it. And you're like, holy crap, I want Daniel Bryan to win right now. He has that, which very few people do.
Watching live when Keith was like, well, you love Daniel Bryan. And I am not the Daniel Bryan fan that you are. I do love him, but he does just have that thing. He has
it. Whatever it is, he has it.
And they've denied it for a long time, but now they know. You just throw this guy in there, whether you made him, he was the best heel in the business for a long time because he can do anything you want.
He's honestly will probably go down as the greatest performer in history. I truly believe that. Biased. He's right up there because Ric Flair, nobody saw Ric Flair, with all due respect. He was playing I saw
Ric Flair.
We all saw him, but week in, week out, he wasn't on national television. He has a little bit of lore.
Since I was 13, I've known who Ric Flair was. Very big.
I'm talking about the 80s. I'm sorry. In the heyday when people talk
even when he was not in his, even when I watched him face the Macho Man, I was like, all right, this guy's fucking legit.
WrestleMania 8, that was in the early 90s. But the 80s, Hogan, Flair, all stuff Hogan you saw on national television on a regular basis.
I wouldn't even put Flair on that level. I think we're talking about the Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
The performer, but I will say Daniel Bryan is a better heel and a better babyface as on the mic and leading a crowd than Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels only really had that tweener phase as a heel babyface in DX, where I would put him as great on the mic, great in the ring, where Daniel Bryan is that since they gave him the shot at all times. Yeah, Shawn Michaels, when he came back in his second career, he was okay on the mic. He had a lot of good feuds, but I don't think he could control the crowd like Daniel Bryan could with his charisma, where Daniel Bryan could do with his everything, where Shawn Michaels was just doing on his reputation.
I was just gonna say his aura of Shawn Michaels, people loved him. He was great. Where Daniel Bryan pulls he could be cold. This guy was losing just random matches on SmackDowns. Boom, he's in a main event, and the whole crowd, Twitter, everybody's like, oh my God, Daniel Bryan. So
the person who doesn't watch wrestling would be drawn to this guy, whereas wrestling fans just are like, that's Shawn Michaels. He's that good, and I know it.
Agreed. All right, so that brings number one when it comes to in-ring talent and just an incredible match, and a match that almost never happened because Vince McMahon believes brothers don't fight. WrestleMania, an opening match because of a coin toss. I have quote fingers up. Bret Hart, Owen Hart. I always wondered, I think there was his plan, if Lex Luger lost the toss and it was Bret versus Yoko first.
Stupid too, because
I think Lex fought somebody. I can't remember who it was though.
This has happened, I think, twice in WrestleMania history, where a guy loses a match earlier in the night and then wins the title. I think Seth Rollins did the exact same thing, but he stole it. The heist of the century.
Last year WrestleMania.
I still don't technically understand what happened. Like Lex Luger also lost his match. I'm fucking.
They did a coin toss because they both won the Royal Rumble, as we remember, in '94. Coin toss. Lex won. Lex got the shot at Yoko first, so Lex versus Yoko. Brett then was forced to finally face Owen Hart after trying to deny. I don't remember who the opponent for Lex Luger was going to be. Somebody will probably fill us in.
So it was basically just so Brett would also have a match.
They
and
both
Yoko
had to
would
have
a match.
Yeah, so everybody was going to fight twice before the main event. Obviously, Yoko goes on to win. Brett loses this match to Owen Hart, which tells such an amazing, amazing story.
And a wacky roll-up, which I love. And I know our guy Nessel hates the roll-up. I think JC hates the roll-up.
But it was a different time.
This is why I love the roll-up, because it comes out of nowhere. And typically, in a lot of these all-time great games, sometimes you have to find a way to beat a team that isn't your strength. Sometimes you can't finish them with your finisher. Sometimes the great offensive power doesn't score 45 points to win the game. Sometimes they have to just grind it out at the end and get that sneaky victory. And that's why I love the roll-up. And that's why I think Bret Hart has some of the greatest matches of all times, because it's not finisher. It's not like setup. It's
not formulated. Yeah,
he's making it up, like, not as he goes, but he's making it up for weeks ahead. Like, how can we make this crowd go on a ride where they're not going to know when the ending is, and all of a sudden it hits you and you're like, that was fucking awesome.
Bret Hart is as realistic, and I know this may sound weird, but in wrestling, but like matches in boxing, in fights, and you mentioned football games, basketball games, any sport.
The most realistic wrestler ever.
He really is, because the roll-ups, pins out of submissions, or getting a guy in a submission in a weird way, rolling him in, like that is what happens in real fights or boxing match or UFC. You watch any UFC, it's not like, oh, here comes his finisher. It's like they get you in a lock and you're toast. And I thought Bret Hart always played that into his matches, always believed in what he was doing, sometimes maybe to his detriment with his reputation. But Owen Hart was so good in this match as well.
He was just raw talent at that point. And this is why I originally had it. And when I watched it back, it did hold true a little bit. He's a little bit wild, and the Stone Cold reverse pile driver is no more evident of that ever. Obviously, RP Owen, I loved him. I think he's an all-time great. But he is a little bit of a bucking bronco. He's like a deer on ice. He's a little bit loose, but he's still you can just see the talent beaming out of him. He is an all-time heel, and I think he shines so bright in this match. And this is why I don't like Seth Rollins, and this is where if you watch a Bret Hart match, he, to steal the term from hockey, goes into the corners hard. He sells like when they say the ring moved an inch with Bret Hart, it might move an inch. He wrestles every move he wrestles every move like it's his last and like it's a real move.
Yeah, and to go where we said about Owen Hart, this was his first major stage match. Like he had WrestleMania matches before this, but he was as like the Rocket, and it was a weird situation. This was his coming out party, and there was nobody better. I'm sorry, stories are the reason wrestling is what it is. The reason wrestling fans sometimes are not full in on wrestling today: overexposure, lack of long-term storytelling. This match is 6 months of storytelling right here. Owen was begging for this match. They were tag team. They were going for the tag team titles at the Royal Rumble. Ends up knocking Bret off. Owen gets pinned by the Mounties. They lose. Survivor Series the year before. Owen, the only one eliminated. All the other Hearts are celebrating. They almost forget about Owen, not purposely, but it's just all. It's exactly like these are the great stories we saw with Macho Man and Hogan years before. This is right up there.
It's not one continuous straight line of booking where it's Owen, Bret. It's Bret Hart and Owen both having their own separate feuds, with this being the storyline mixed in, which is so weird that they don't do that a lot now. It's a lot of this. You face this guy for 7 weeks, and this is the only thing we're going to book you in. Same thing with tag teams. We're going to book you with this for 7 weeks, and for the last 2 weeks, each guy is going to face the other guy in a tag team.
Oh, we've been doing it. It's with New Day. So AJ Styles and Omos are going for the tag titles against New Day, and we've had AJ 3 straight weeks. Yeah. So he's going to be
wrestle.
Yeah, he's pulling the Big E. Big E at WrestleMania 29 was his first match at WrestleMania. Omos is doing that with AJ Styles. But AJ for the last 3 weeks has been facing the New Day just on rotation. It was twice with Xavier, once with Kofi. Good matches, but like overexposing, and we're seeing what we're going to be getting. Where Owen and Bret, kind of like Kane and The Undertaker a few years after this, never touched. never fought.
That was the big thing. Like, that was what they did so well in early booking of wrestling. And, that's why boxing matches are so big. Like, the first time you see these guys, next to each other is usually the weigh-in, and that's a big moment. And they don't know how to do that now in wrestling. And it's one of the many reasons I've kind of stopped watching.
And I can understand, like, it's something I'm passionate about and something I just enjoy all the time in different ways. But I do think there's a major lack of, like, keep these guys away from each other to build here, but let them have, like, Bret Hart won that Royal Rumble, but at the same time was in a feud with Owen. It's a huge point. So there's multiple things going on. Like you just said, I don't concentrate on one thing during my day. I wish I could. But, like, you're thinking about other things. Like, nobody ever talks about the title because, God forbid, you write them talking about wanting the biggest prize. Well, we're going to have to put him in that story. No, make it a bigger arc. And that's what we got here. Eventually, Owen beating Bret winning the title, the two of them face-to-face to end the show. The matches we get later, Owen wins the King of the Ring. Bret and him face it, SummerSlam. Like, a great year.
Cage match, too.
Yeah, just a great year of excellent storytelling. But this match here, one of the all-time greats, 20 minutes, wrestling porn from start to finish. Owen, you mentioned the roll-up, holds the tights a little bit, a little more heelish tactics. Great stuff from the both of them. Bret gets over as well by putting Owen over. Later in the night, wins a match because a guy slipped on a banana peel. A little embarrassing there. Weird night for Bret Hart.
Not a great finish to start the night, and then probably one of the worst endings in WrestleMania history. Yeah. If they had just done it slightly different, where it didn't look like you said, he slipped, like it was an accident that Bret won.
He just had a Bret knock him off.
Just kick the rope.
So we had 9 years of Hulk Hogan always looking strong. Previous this, the year before,
make him look strong.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan comes out after Bret loses to Yoko for no reason to make sure Hogan looks strong. You're finally putting the heat and everything behind Bret, and they had to do this weak ass thing where first he loses to Owen, which people can say that makes you look weak. It made him look strong in my opinion because it was a great match. Then he goes up against Yoko later in the night. He faces King Kong, and King Kong slips on his way at the Empire State Building, and Bret doesn't even do an offensive move. He just puts his hand on him. What are we doing?
I mean, really literally, if he just kicked the ropes, because that's how, honestly, in my mind, I would figure out the way Bret Hart could win matches, and I was like, that's what he could do. Yoko could go up, go back in a sit-up position, kick it, and just pin him. And it would have looked so much cooler.
Or do a flip over pin, anything. But anyways, nonetheless, match started off incredible. This list was balls. This list was the official greatest. Don't worry about the order I went in, but the greatest top 11 WrestleMania opening match.
I mean, it's not a top 11 if we don't have a giant glaring error.
Yeah, and it's always me. I am the giant glaring era. I am Jason Ross. You can check me out over on Twitter at Jason D Rossi. Bill, well, before we get out of here, we'll tell you what's going on in the rest of the fam.
This week in
Shared Universe.
So, I believe that TLDR read some books.
They did.
Pineapple Boys will be doing another episode of Psych. Mac and Goo is doing the 1989 classic Aliens.
Can't wait.
Jork did the mid-season review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Correct.
Haven't gotten through that yet. Change My Mind, the podcast that called us out. Look, we're here Tuesday nights, 8:30. We're even going to have one tomorrow, so... on that.
We got a lot of content this week.
They did Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
I think it was just Ant-Man.
They did Ant-Man, and potentially in the future they will do the Wasp as well. They talked a little of Angeline Lilly, Lost. I mean, who doesn't love her? She's
one of the greats.
She's absolutely insane right now, I believe. But and are there any? Check out the streamers. Dr. Joe, Shine Time, and Arvon D. I believe he's still doing the Friday night Q&A.
Yeah, the fan, then, whatever.
And then News Dump usually cucks me and Doc at some point on Thursday night. I think.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, actually. I
don't think it's intentional. I just think timing wise.
Matt,
and if it is, it's a good lean in or a good follow up or a good way to get people to Facebook Live. I'm like, oh yeah. There's a couple of handsomer guys doing a stream right below them.
Yeah, you can check out all these there. Quick shout out. You mentioned him. I haven't seen him. I haven't gotten my notifications. It's time to Shime. I haven't seen Shime streaming as much, but I did want to say, and I don't really come out of the closet this way, but Sharp does an excellent job over at EI. He does the updates during now the Gresh and Keefe program. So I want to give him a shout. Kid's doing a good job. He's hustling. I don't know what the situation is there these days, but as someone that was trying to fight that good fight, that uphill battle, pushing a rock till eventually the point when I realized this rock ain't worth it. I got to take my ball, go somewhere else, make a couple cash, put it in the pocket. Really enjoyed it. Love the industry, but Shime's pushing that rock up the hill, doing a hell of a job. So shout out to Shime.
So sports radio has become somewhat listenable to me lately. For probably a solid 6 years, I didn't listen to any of it, but
Appreciate the support.
Danielle, whoever the girl, whoever that was on the Greg Hill Morning Show, I loved her.
Yeah, she was good. I liked her more
awesome
when it was just on the AAF. No disrespect to Danielle. I think it was a little bit of a weird transition.
Never heard the Greg Hill Show in my life until
appreciate all the support when I was there on all those stations. Thank you.
I know, sorry.
It's all good.
But I always, we love Keefe here. Keefe's great. And I would listen to Keefe and, Dale.
It was just a different program, Bill. It was a
little
different
bit of
program.
a baby. Gresh is a
great attitude. I love the enthusiasm on that show.
I find he's like a real life Peter Griffin. And even though he's over the top, I find it fucking hilarious. Yep. And to your point, Shime's a big part of the program and gives me a point of pride, that we know him and he's doing well. So that's why I was going with this. Go Shime.
Way to land that boat. That's right, a boat lands. But I will just say, knowing what goes on and how things work and pay and all that nonsense, just to see a program where it looks like four guys getting along, enjoying themselves, potentially having each other's back. I see a lot of Twitter interaction. That means the world when you're in those
you can
small
tell
spaces.
They're having a good time.
And that's really important. It's really, really important. You should feel good about what you do. Whatever you're doing out there, you listen to this podcast at this point, feel good about what you're doing. If you don't, there's only one thing that you can do. You can control how you feel or change your situation. So I'm a big proponent of that. Keep fighting the good fight out there. Hope everyone's doing well, getting all vaccinated up. We're going to be having the Fat Boy Summer. It was delayed from 2020, but 2021, baby. The boys are back. We're going to be getting together, hopefully doing some fun things. Hope you're having a great year. But most importantly, Wrestlemania this weekend. More content coming. The best WrestleManias. We'll discuss that this week. Keep it all locked. Make sure you subscribe over at the Pop Culture Piledriver on iTunes. 5-star review. We haven't gotten a review in a while, so could really prove that. Appreciate it. You can follow this handsome son of a gun over at Billy D 2411. DMs are open, baby. Boom.
We need somebody to give this chain to.
Yeah, Bill needs a sugar boo. If you know a sugar boo, please hashtag sugar boo. Tweet at PopCulturePD at Billy D 2411 and at Jason D Rossi and just put hashtag sugar boo. We need to find
boo. I recently found out there was no R. It's just sugar.
Well, I try to reverse my Boston accent so bad, so anything that isn't I would usually say sugar when I'm saying sugar back in the day before I got rid of it. So I reversed. I apologize.
A little bit of Boston, so another reason to love her. Just dropping R's.
Oh, look at her. Ain't she the greatest? Bill is looking to give like a promise ring in 1992. Bill's trying to give a girl a necklace. Will you be Billy Sugarboo? We'll find out. Subscribe again over to the podcast. You can check out Dorkshire Gooniverse and across all platforms. We appreciate you guys joining us. Let us know your thoughts on this list. Anything WrestleMania, any thoughts at all. Appreciate you listening. Bill, leave the people with something very motivational that will get
holla, 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 holla.